over here we have my not so functional hothouse or greenhouse, and it is definitely a hothouse but not so much a greenhouse. And with my seasons the way they are and the sun the way it is, the Australian sun, I have found that this has not served me as I thought it would. I was hoping to use it for seed raising. I'm inclined to prefer to have my seeds inside where it's heated rather than in here where it's still cold of a night time, even though it's in a hothouse. And in the summer, and when it starts to get warmer, even late spring, it gets too hot. And regulating the door, there is a roof on it that goes up and down and allows heat out, but it's still too hot. Even having the door open can be too hot. So it's been handy to overwinter some things, some tropicals. I think I can navigate that a different way. It's more about frost with the plants that I've got than anything else, so rather than heat. In saying that, we've had some damage because it hasn't lasted. It's under 3 years old, I think, and the roof on the north side is totally disintegrated, and the wind took it off the other day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove those panels on that side in the roof, or what's left of them, and I think what I'll do is I'll put shade cloth over it somehow. So I've got to work out a way of constructing the shade cloth over it and have it more as a shaded or a greenhouse, but I'll be a cross between the two, and see how that temperature and amount of shading serves during the months moving forward, and see if that's a better option. Otherwise, I might just take it all off and or most of it off and just turn it into a shade house. So, but today I want to clean it out, and it's pretty clean. I've got to just move the pots out. We'll take the pots out, and you'll see in the centre of the section we dug it out in a way that I could stand up in the middle with a bit of height, because it's not very tall, and so we lifted up the sides or took the middle down. As the roof is open now, that collects water. So what I'm going to do is mulch the whole lot over the plastic, so the mulch absorbs most of the water. The water will actually evaporate within the hothouse and create some sort of moisture during the summer if things are watered in there too. So we'll just see how all that works and just, you know, experiment with these things. Obviously that's not something that you would buy commercially, that system, but let's see how that works with water retention in the moisture with a partly open roof, but still these sun catching and light catching panels on it too. Let's do that today and see how much we can get done. I should be able to get most of it done. The roof is my issue, but we'll see how we navigate that. So this is where we're at. I've got a tub of rubbish that's been collected as I'm working around the place. Needs to go in the bin. But there is some plants in here. It's getting close to me being able to pull some of these out. Probably could take the ginger out because I've got ginger in the garden. And one struggling really needs to come out over in the left corner. That's my sweet potato slips, which are going in, I think this week. I think I'll put them in. I've got the barrels to do them now. And so I'm going to set them up, and the dragon fruit at the back. I see the panels I've got be removed. So we'll take them off, and the plastic is keeping most of the weeds at bay. This has been very difficult to keep the weeds out of here. But I will pull a few around the edges before I mulch, and then I need to put something down on the ground right at the doorway here. Plastic hasn't quite covered it, didn't have enough, so I've just put tubs and things over part of it, but I don't think cardboard's going to cut it in here. I will maybe recycle some of the plastic from the garbage and, I think we've got some chicken feed bags around, and they may serve as a cover. And you can see how the water's collecting in the middle there from rain and from me watering in here too. So, but look at that. Look at the way it's just disintegrated. Oh, microplastics, my friends. I just wish I'd waited probably a lot longer before I could afford it, but put in a glass one. Lizards. Sorry, Mr. Lizard. I'll take you later. So you can see under this plastic, the grass, it's pretty persistent. If I was to leave that plastic off, that would just grow back. It's not as dead as you think. This cacao grass is very stubborn. And it's very difficult to eradicate, so I've had a lot of issues. So this is some footage of what I was dealing with. Kept on growing through, and the young berries had dipped their little heads in. I had not kept them trimmed, and they dipped them in the soil and were sprouting underneath. And I think I had some seeds drop that reverted back to blackberries, because they're a cross between a blackberry and raspberry, and growing just outside this hothouse. But they loved it in there. They absolutely loved it, and eventually filled it. I've got footage somewhere of it just really filling the whole room up. So now we're trying to do something that will keep it a little bit more under control. So before I add mulch, it is important to go around the edges and get what I could out of the weeds. And so I pulled them out. The really bad stuff I removed completely, and the stuff that I knew wouldn't grow, I just threw it under. So then the job was to get the plastic out, to get those sheets out. Now they were stuck in places. I don't remember silicon adhesion in those places. We did talk about putting silicone in to hold it in, but I don't remember putting it in there. But it was pretty much wedged in certain places where I just had to break it and do the best I could. Plastic was going absolutely everywhere, which is not great, but yeah, you just got to do what you got to do, and the quicker I got it out, the better. You can probably read my mind here. That's not going to last long either. I kind of popped it back into place, and it's probably going to be another section that I'll have to pull out later, but perhaps with the cover that eventually goes on it, it might preserve it a bit longer. Unfortunately, the window that lifts up automatically is also deteriorating. You could see actually a difference between that plastic and the plastic on the hothouse, which was actually worse. Now here, my friend, is where some of the young berry / blackberry, whatever it's trying to be, is coming underneath. Some of these, oh, that's grass. Some of these are prickly, so obviously blackberries, and some are not. So I pulled those up too, and I put a plank down there just for added weed suppression. So it's all cleared out. I did add some more plastic to the front there where the weeds are, and while the plants are out, I sorted them out. I did take some, I think, across to the potting bench and got rid of some rubbish, and of course all those sheets, got rid of all of that sheeting. And I realised there's a little solar light in here, but I kept forgetting it's even there. I tested that to see if it was working, and it looks a bit weird on film, but it's working after all that time being in there in the heat. Little cheap thing. I may actually use it now. So we're back in the greenhouse 2 days later, and the reason for that is I didn't quite get it done. So in that hour we got most of the floor covered, but it needed a couple more barrow loads, which I didn't have time or energy for that day. So I spent probably another extra hour doing that and cleaning up the yard, and I was kind of moving things from front to back. I had manure to bring down and tubs to bring down, and so I did a bit of that for another hour. And I also brought everything back into the greenhouse. So I have brought the shelves back in. I've put them in a different spot. They need to be secured because I wouldn't dare put anything on them at this stage. So I'm going to secure them to the back wall, or here somehow. I'll probably have to drill into the support metal here and secure them so that they don't move with little seedlings on it. That's the last thing I need with wind being able to get in here now. And I've also put some plants under the open sky, and so the ginger's under the open sky because I know that I've got it out in the garden, and this originally came from the garden, and it's pretty happy being exposed now. We still could get frosts, so I've kept the dragon fruit away. They probably would be fine, but I've kept them under a sheltered part, but there is room for the rain to blow in and that. And then the sweet potatoes that are actually going to go out probably today anyhow in the next power hour, they're going to go into some big tubs. I'm preparing those. They spent the night again under here, and the cassava is starting to sprout. So that survived in the hothouse in Melbourne, would you believe? So it'll be interesting to see if it sprouts up in the garden. One of those has sprouted and one hasn't sprouted. And the ones in the garden, I do think they're still alive, but I've yet to see them sprout. I don't think they will until it warms up a bit more. We've had a couple of days of like 21 and it's been quite sunny and warm, and a little bit of humidity, which is the plants have really responded to. So there's a struggling capsicum there that I don't know if it'll live, and the turmeric is over in a tub still under shelter for a bit extra warmth. So it still gets pretty warm in here when it's cold. And on the other side I've got another cassava that has sprouted and a dragon fruit. So that is the greenhouse done, and I feel such relief. And the centre part of it has absorbed the water. You wouldn't actually know it was wet in there. So I've filled that in. It's slightly sloping in the centre, but it's pretty thick with the mulch. And so hopefully I can keep the weeds at bay in here this time, hopefully, and I can use the greenhouse a bit more while it lasts, and I patch it up and see how that all works out. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one. If you have the new hype feature, I would love it if you hyped my video and give us a thumbs up and say hello in the comments. And I would love to see what's going on in your garden right now too.